Okay, so good morning again. My name is Scott Quimby from Computer Systems Integrators, and today we're going to do some group policy tools and tips. And unlike my other presentations, we're going to basically just kind of wander around and look at some tools as opposed to a static PowerPoint. So if you have questions, whatever, let me know. All right, so here we go. All right, so we're going to talk about modeling, group policy modeling. When people say they have a problem, the first thing I want to do is go do a model before I even look at their machine, see what's going on. So we'll just do that. We're going to do resultant set of policies. Modeling says what should happen. Resultant set of policies says what did happen. We'll talk a little bit about group policy objects versus preferences, ADMx versus ADM files, what do they do, order of precedence, central policy store, and a little bit about IE. If you have questions, let me know. I'm going to just dive right into the live demo here if I can find my screen. Let me pull it across. So here I am sitting on the file server. And I'm in Active Directory sitting here. Now, one thing we want, one tip that you want to know is you see how there's a computer OU here, and then there's one called CSI computers, right? For whatever reason, Microsoft basically creates a default computer OU. So when you join a computer to your domain, it goes in the computer OU. Microsoft won't let you put a policy against the default computer OU. So one of the very first suggestions that I would make for you is if you're just putting your computers in the default computer OU, make your own computer OUs. They could be by building, they could be by function, whatever works for you. But make your own and move your computers into those OUs and out of the default. That way you can run computer policies against computers. And that's a big deal because we want to run computer policies against computers and user policies against users. The only way I can get a computer policy against the computers in this OU, which there's 4, is to put it at the root, which means everybody has to go, is this for me, is this for me, to get to the computer. Whereas I could put a computer policy against CSI computers, and it would only go to CSI computers, so I could essentially circumvent that completely. Who doesn't have audio? Do other people not have audio? Do other people not have audio? Okay, so Harry, I think you have to call in. All right, everybody's saying they can hear me, so I think, Harry, you have to use the audio controls and dial in. All right, so that should be in the invite. Sorry about that. All right, so that's a little Active Directory thing, a tip. So here we are, and we have our policies. We have our policies up here on the screen, and we have these policies at the root, and then we have these OUs. And notice how the computer OU from Active Directory doesn't show up, but my CSI computer does show up. That's what I'm talking about. So I can apply a policy against it, which I have, but I can't apply a policy against that default. So that's why it's a big deal. If we just look around at what we're seeing here, you see all these guys have little checkboxes or little shortcuts on them. The black shortcuts means that they're active. There's one here that's grayed out. See how it's kind of grayed out, this guy? Maybe hard to see in the presentation. That means it's unlinked, right? You see there's no link enabled. See how link enabled? So it's there, but I've decided for whatever reason I don't want to run it. So that's the difference. Here's another one that's unlinked, right? So that's what those mean. All right. You see this guy here called enforced. You see how it came up with a little padlock. The padlock means that I'm going to enforce this. The default of all these policies that we see with just a checkbox, it says, well, this is what I want you to do, right? I want you to do whatever I'm doing in Adobe. But if I go down deeper and I've taken a different position in one of these OUs to do something different in Adobe, that's okay. Last in wins, all right? With the computer itself being last in, that the user has actually changed something. But if I do enforce with a little padlock, what I say is it's my way, and I don't really give a rat what you think. So I've decided whatever I've decided here, and I don't really care what you think, because this is so important to me that you must do it. That's what enforce means, and I'm just right-clicking here to do that. Now, you see these little blue exclamation points. Those are block inheritance. Lots of times say, like with your district office, you get all this stuff going on, block this, block that, do this, do that, and then you get down to the district office and you say, I just don't want all this junk flowing into those administrative machines. So I do a right-click and I say block inheritance, and now what I said is all this stuff above here, above me, doesn't go. And basically what I have to do is start over, literally. Anything up here above the block that I want, I would have to relink here. And again, these are just shortcuts. These are not the actual objects themselves. The objects are down lower. The objects are down here, group policy objects. These are the real objects. You delete this, and it's really gone. You delete this, and you just deleted the link for it. So you can use block inheritance to essentially kind of reset and say, I want something different under here. But don't use enforce above a block inheritance. You'll get all these errors and the like in the logs, right? So if you're going to truly do a block inheritance, don't do it a force up here. Do an enforce down here underneath the block, all right, if you feel like it at all, all right? So that's basically how that works. Just kind of wandering around here, we're going to go down to group policy objects and group policy modeling in a second. If I want to know what this policy does, let's go to find something. All right, here's a drive mapping. All right, I click on it, and what it's going to show me on the right-hand side, it says it's not enforced. It is linked to this domain, and it's only, in this case, it's only good for this group called accounting. It's the only one that's going to map a drive to QuickBooks. If I go under settings, oh, that's annoying. I just should have thought of that before I did this. If I go to settings, what it's going to do is it's going to show me what's in that policy. So that's just a quick way to go, what the heck does this do? You can just go settings and show all, and it says there's a login script here that maps the drive. If I go here, what does this guy do? Turn off Windows Explorer preview pane. The dangers of doing a live demo. It's going to come up and it's going to show us what that does. For the sake of time, I'm going to move. Oh, there we go. All right. Oh, I got an error here. talked about this error at the last SysOp and Tech Talk meeting. This is the Windows 10 error that basically there's a mislabeled file. I may have to go to a different server to do this for the sake of sanity. All right. So now, if I want to know what's going on, I go group policy modeling, and basically it's at the bottom of group policy modeling console. And I essentially go, what's my domain? I can either go any available domain controller, or I could pick the one, say, in my building. Building A doesn't run right, building B does. I could pick the domain controller that runs building A, or I could just say pick anyone, the least busy one. Now what I do is I'm going to pick a user, and basically let's find me. So here's the username, Scott. It doesn't like you to type the name of the user in, so let the browse find the user, and then on a computer. So let's find the name of a computer. And same thing on the computer name. So if users, and this is an if, Scott may have never at this computer. And that's actually the case, that Scott has never sat at whatever this computer is. So this is theoretical. If Scott sits at this computer, what's going to happen? Is there a specific site associated with Scott? So I'm at the elementary school, and there's a site and sites and services for that. I could pick it. If not, I could not. I go through, and it says what's going to happen here, and I just click next, 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 and then it's done. And then it generates a report. So now this report is going to come up, and it's going to tell us exactly what's going on out there in this policy. So I went under details, and I can do a show all. And now what it's going to do is it's going to come up and say, well, what if, for whoever Scott is, for wherever Scott is in this tree, right? I happen to be down here, right? Scott, right? So wherever Scott is in my OU, for wherever that computer is, right, which is in this OU, for whatever that means in terms of the root policies, the sub-OU policies, blah, blah, blah. When I wrap that all together, what would happen to Scott if he sat at that computer? What is or isn't happening? And also, equally important, where is it coming from? Because maybe I don't like the fact that the screensaver goes every 10 minutes on the password lockout. Where the heck is that coming from? Where do I go to fix it? Okay, it's in one of these things. How do I know? This is how I know. So it says on the computer side here, all right, I have one password remembered. It's 45 days. Minimum password H is 0 that you can change. Minimum length is 5. All right. I lock out for 15 minutes for 7 invalid. It tells you everything. Who's allowed to go in through terminal services, do not display last login is coming from the default domain policy. Okay, it tells you who wins. So of all this stuff, who's the last in that wins for whatever the setting is? Okay, what services are we turning on? How are we turning them on? How's the firewall state configured? Registry keys that I hit. All right, now we go over to here's a log off policy that I have. Here's drive maps that I map. Okay, and again, it's telling us where they come from. Winning GPO, CSI logout script, net use, blah, blah, blah. So if I don't like this, I want to alter this, I go to the script in question and I alter this, right? And which is an edit, right? And then I alter whatever it is that I want. So in this case, it's this. And there it is, right? And now I can edit that or do whatever I want to do. So group policy modeling is great. It's the first thing I would do. It's the first thing I would do. You tell me you got a problem, or you say something happened, I don't want this to happen. I want to change this. Where did it come from? I didn't set this up. I don't remember what I did. When I did set it up, what happens is just do a group policy modeling, pick a user and pick a computer and go. And it just sorts out of all this stuff on the left what actually happened and what actually ran. That's group policy modeling. Now, that generally is good enough because you can generally find, well, where did the screensaver come that is setting for 10-minute password protect? I want to set it for 30 minutes because teachers are going to kill me because I can't do school to them. All right. Group policy results is basically a little different. All right, because results says what actually did happen. And for a resultant set of policies to work, what I have to do is I have to essentially have run as that user on the computer. So modeling is theoretical, resultant is actual. So you turn around and say, it says what computer do you want to run on? Let's see if I can find a computer. All right. All right, there's nothing there. So let's, where am I going to go? Advanced, find, let's find my computer. All right. So here's my computer. Check the name. That's good. So you can only pick a computer that the user actually ran on. So if Scott has never sat here, you can't pick Scott. All right. So notice it shows you these are the only people that have ever sat at Scott's computer. Right? So let's pick Scott on the domain. Right? And it's going to pull up this report. Now, so this is for, I know my settings right, it works everywhere except here. I would do resultant set of policies. Every place else I do group policy modeling until I'm proven that something doesn't run right. So what this did is it looked at the computer and it said, oh, look at this. This is stuff we'll have to fix. It says there's a version mismatch between the DCs. So there's something out of sync here. We might not be replicating right. I have to talk to Prayer. But what this says is actually what got there. So show all, what actually got there. So if you look on this list and somehow something's missing, right, what that means is there's something broken here, and then you can try to figure out what's going on. So here's my screen lock policy, all right, who it runs for, authenticated users, security filters, and the like. So that's resultant set. So group policy is my favorite go-to thing, but if you say this computer doesn't act like all the rest of the computer, do resultant. But you have to do resultant with a live user, a user that's actually logged in. It can't be theoretical. So now let's talk about group policy objects versus group policy preferences. Let me just create a new policy. All right, here's all my objects. And I'm going to go new. And so now just edit a new policy. All right. If I look here, you see there's policies and there's preferences. And under policies, the Windows 10 error. Under policies, there's all the things we know and love in terms of Office, Google, Adobe, and the like. All right. So what's going to happen here is policies. Basically, let's look at Adobe for instance. Preferences, startup, enable protected mode, don't show messages, turn off user feedback. Adobe Reader 11. Are you allowed to display PDFs in a browser? Whatever it is. Okay. Microsoft Office. Let's see, Word. Where's Word? Oh, there's not much in that one. Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. So this is like the personality. Think of group policy objects as the personality. All right. I would like Microsoft Office to save to the home directory by default. I would like Microsoft Office to make a backup copy automatically, whatever it is. So it's basic personality. I like Adobe not to do the EULA. I would like it not to do JavaScript. I would like it not to do auto updates. I would like it not to do the initial splash screen. I would like Java not to do auto updates. The personality of the application. Preferences is a little bit different, right? In the preferences, essentially are kind of like the last mile of stuff. So while I can set the Microsoft Office home directory location, for instance, what I can do with preferences is I could set an environment variable on a machine. I could push files to the machine. I could push folders to the machine. I could edit any files. I could edit registry files. So sometimes you say, there isn't anything in Microsoft Word that does something that I want to do. But I found that there's a registry key that exists that does what I want. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to pull the registry key and push it to my machines. All right. So here I can essentially go into the registry and I can find whatever it is I want to find. and I'm just drilling down like normal, run, and here I am in the registry key, right? That, I can basically select that key, and I can change the value of the key. I can update it, I can replace it, I can create it, I can delete it. So if I have something running on everyone's machine out of the startup folder locally, I could create a registry key here. I could attach it as a GPPE, and I could apply it to my computers in my CSI computer group, and it would eat that startup item, and it would no longer appear. Pretty cool stuff. All right. The other thing I could do here is I could use the wizard, and I could grab the key, either from my computer or another computer. So I've already set this key up. You look up an article and it says, tweak this. One I was talking about at the last CSI Tech Talk meetings, I talked about this interactive services error. It's a nuisance error. This morning I went on Paladin Sentinel, and there's like 10 servers that showed up with this nuisance error. It's freaking annoying. It's a registry key, right? It takes 2 seconds to fix. Well, I could apply it right here to my server's OU and apply the registry key to do what I want to do. All right. The other one that's huge that we want to do is we'd like to not do shared desktops. What we want to do is we want to do a shared shortcut. And if we look at the shortcut here, right, the name of the shortcut, all right, where should the shortcut go? Should it go on the start menu? Should it go on the desktop? Should it go on the all users desktop, all users start menu? Should it go to the all users startup folder? Where should it go? So it's a thing in a desktop, the path that it should go, the arguments. Very, very powerful stuff. I should have one to show you, which will make more sense. And then what icon do I want to have with it? Let me see if I can find one that is. See if I can find one. I thought I had a shortcut here. I guess I don't anymore. All right. Well, I don't want to waste time. So again, if we did the shortcut, I could put what icon, I can put where I want to put it, I can put how I want to put it. And this is the preferred method for doing target path. Let me just fill some stuff in here. Target path is here. All right. Now the cool thing, and this is really the power of it, right? What we really want you to do is we want you not to use shared desktops. We want you to use GPP shortcuts. And what we want you to do is we want you to then apply them where you want to apply them, and you can set rules. So I can say, well, I'm on this computer right now. If I did this on the user side down here at the bottom, I could say run in the user's security context. So when Scott signs on the computer, what I want to have happen is I want the shortcut to go to Scott. So I normally, let me do it down there because it'll make more sense. Sorry about that. So we're going to make a shortcut on the user side now. Right, so we're going to say Chrome, and we're going to say, we're going to put it on the desktop, and we're going to, that's the location. Now, you see, this is what I was talking about. This will happen when Scott logs in. Run in the user's logged in security context. So when Scott logs in, he will get this shortcut. I can say remove this item when I don't want it anymore. So when I don't do Chrome anymore, pull it off of everybody's desktop. I could do apply once and do not reapply. So if I chose here to put it in the all users desktop, right? Then I might want to do apply once and don't reapply, right? I just want to dump some shortcuts out on this guy's desktop, or this machine's desktop, and then everyone will get them because it'll bleed through from all users. So instead of every time putting out the shortcut for Scott, putting out the shortcut for Lisa, putting out the shortcut for Bob, I could just say, dump it in there and walk away. All right. So that's kind of the difference there. The remove when I don't want it anymore is really cool. How do I get rid of it? And then the ultimate is this item level targeting. Item level targeting is essentially where I can create a condition, right? And this is that last mile stuff that you can't do up in group policy, right? Group policy, everybody goes to H for Word, all right? You get the full menus instead of short menus. But here I can say, this shortcut only goes to this specific computer. This shortcut only goes if there's an environment variable on the machine. This shortcut only goes if the file is there. Now, I like this one, right? I don't want to put Chrome, 64-bit Chrome, onto a machine that's 32-bit, so I can say, look for this file. If you have the file, put the shortcut on. If you don't have the executable, then you don't have the stuff. Don't put it out there. You don't get an error. So what you get IP address range. This is actually pretty cool. I can have stuff go out to a specific IP addresses, right? So this VLAN is going to get this shortcut. What else do we have out there that's very useful? All right. MAC address. I can put it to a MAC address. I can put something out only for Windows 7 machines. I could put something out in an organizational unit, though they say that's not the best place to do it. If there's something in the registry, right? If you have this application, there's a key in the registry, or I put a key in the registry, I could do it. For only a specific user. When Scott signs in, wherever he goes, give him this. A lot of times I'll do this. I'll do security is a member of, and then we'll go look for a group. Accounting. Now, I'll warn you about if you're doing the group thing or any of this. Let the browse button pick it. Notice it has the SID here, the gobbledygook. If you just type this in, it wouldn't work, even though it's correct. You need it to fill in the SID. All right? That's a big deal. You need that. So pick your thing. So what I've said here now is I've said this shortcut will only appear if the user is a member of accounting. Now, there's these ands or ors. So I could say security group, and let's pick another one. Find office. Again, notice it got the gobbledygook. Notice what it did. This shortcut's going to appear if I'm a member of accounting and I'm a member of office. If I'm a member of accounting and I'm a member of office, then you'll get this shortcut, else you won't. I could switch it to OR, which is really cool. So this is this last mile stuff. This is the way every single one of you should be doing, delivering shortcuts. And they could be web pages, right? Here's the URL to get to the subscription service we're doing. Drop it on everybody's desktop, have it out there in the next, under an hour with replication. So this is a really big deal. This item level targeting is so huge in GPPE. Now, there's other stuff down here. I'm going to jump around for a minute since I'm in here. All right. Up here, there's a section called Internet Explorer Maintenance and Group Policy. Internet Explorer Maintenance. Internet Explorer Maintenance, Microsoft decided to break. And they did it in a weird way. Because what they did is they basically said, we're going to depreciate Internet Explorer Maintenance. So we didn't take it out. It's still there. But if you run it, stuff won't work right. And it not only won't work right, it won't error. That's the weird thing, is it won't error, right? So you go fill out the stuff in Internet Explorer Maintenance, and then you basically say, why is this stuff not working? There are no errors, but it doesn't work. And this is Microsoft. They basically depreciated Internet Explorer Maintenance, and they've just ignored stuff that's out there, but they don't error it out. So you're just left with, your resultant set of policies, all that stuff we did. Why doesn't this stuff work, even though it says it's there? What Microsoft leaves you with in GPPE versus GPO is the internet settings. And notice how it has different browser versions, right, for different browsers. So it's a setting, but it's a browser-specific setting, all right, for whatever you have. So let's go out to 10 in this case. Now this is a really interesting concept. You see some green lines, you see some red lines. You get into this concept of tattooing. When we were doing item level targeting, remember there was that choice there that said, do not remove this when I'm done, right? Remove this when I'm done. What's happened here is you have this concept of tattooing. And tattooing is just like a tattoo. If I go get a tattoo, it doesn't come off, right? You can get it off, but you have to work at it. So when you come into GPPE internet settings, this is how I set things now. But it's really doing this tattooing thing. So here I am, start with the home page. The other thing I need to do is I can go in and I can set whatever I want to set here, right? But you see those green lines show up for that tattooing stuff. And I just hit F5, and you see what it did? It turned the red line to green. That's a really important tip, right? If you want whatever this is to go, and you see one of those red lines, you hit F5. That takes the red line to green, which means it's going to get tattooed. You notice this is a normal IE options page, right? Just fill it out however you want it filled out. Here's another one, F5. You see how it tattooed it? That's what I'm talking about. So a lot of people forget that, the ... red. That's a big deal. But now you can just go through and you just fill out whatever you want. Again, I can use item level targeting, right? So I can run as the user, Scott. I can apply once, don't reapply, remove, whatever I want. Or I can go back to item level targeting and do all that really cool stuff about if then, if it matches this. Okay, this is the right way to do it, right? It's a much more of a pain on some of that stuff than you had in Internet Explorer Maintenance. But this is the right way to do this stuff, right, in IE. And like you saw here, you may have to do, depending on what IE browsers you have, you may have to do it multiple times for multiple browsers, depending on what you have out there. All right, really cool stuff. But that's basically how you deal with Internet Explorer maintenance. You use Internet settings either here under User, or is there Internet settings? No, there isn't Internet settings under Computer. But you see there are, if we have both here, we have the computer side open at the top, and we have the user side open at the bottom. And notice that a lot of that stuff is in both places. So the registries in both places, environment variables in both places. Notice drive maps go on the user side. And to do drive map, it's really cool. You just go map drive, location, label as, make up a name, and this right here is going to be the name you see in my computer. Use, pick a drive. Okay, do we want to hide this drive? Do we want to show this drive? What have you. Go over here, apply as the user, and then security group, find a group, accounting. And again, the SID is there. So what we've just done is we've just said that if you're a member of the group accounting and you sign on, you're going to have a drive I, and it's going to point to the common folder. And it's going to be visible. And when you look at my computer, it's going to say common, right, as the name of the drive I. This is the right way to do drives. You should not, I had one that had a batch file. You shouldn't be doing any batch files. This is lightning fast. This is the way to do drives now. Every single drive map you have should be done through GPPE drive maps in this manner. Just load them up on this page, right? That's how you do a drive map. And so every shared desktop and shared start menu should go away, and you should do shortcuts, GPPE shortcuts, the batch file VBS script that's doing drives should go away, and you should be doing GPPE drive maps. All right. We'll look at some of the other stuff here that you can do. Data sources, that's like ODBC drivers. All right. Devices, you can go into device settings, folder options. This is a cool one. This is basically create a local user on a computer or local group, right? So this is how I have situations where school will tell me, well, I have a building sysop and I want her to be able to be local administrator in all the computers in the lab in her building. How would I do that? Well, I can populate that programmatically by, you see it's on the computer side and it's on the user side. I can populate that programmatically from local users and groups. So if I had out here an Active Directory, if under CSI, I had an OU called lab, right? Now I can, if I put the lab computers in the OU called lab, now what I can do is I can create a GPPE policy that I can attach to that lab OU, and I can basically say that what I want to do is I want to add a member to the group. And the group I want to add is administrators, which is someplace in the wrong OU. That's why. Actually, I can't do it. I'm on a DC, so I can't do it here. It won't let me pick. I guess I could pick down here, right? Should be administrators out there someplace. Anyway, you get the point. But what I can do here is I can essentially make the user programmatically the name of a local admin on any computer in the OU lab. So as long as the computers in the lab go in the lab OU, I attach my DPO and they become local admin. And then when I don't want them to be, I take them out. So that's pretty cool. What else do we have here? Power options. I can go in there and I can set all the power settings. So I want to play with sleep mode and control it programmatically. What do I want to do? I can do it all here via TPPE. Printers, we're not going to have time to do that today, but I can essentially create a printer here, and I can set the printer as a default. So I can set it as an IP-based printer. I can set it as a Windows Share-based printer. This is the right way to do printers, too. And again, I have to, I don't know where, I have a printer here. Oh, here's a printer. I can, again, do item level targeting. I can do run as the user. So I could say, you get this printer when you sign in to the lab. Schedule tasks, I can populate. Start menu, I can populate. So GPPE is the last mile, mass customization without going to the machine. It's really, really cool. Now you get into the other topic that we said we were going to talk about, which is the central policy store. All of you should have a central policy store. Now what I just did is I did whack domain name on my DC. And now I'm just following along and I go to policies. And you see all these policies here. All these policies are all these policies here, right? That's what this is. All this gobbledygook stuff is these policies here. And if I look in this, there is on one of these screens, you see, there's the number, right? That's the number that denotes one of these. So, but if we look at this, I have added something called policy definitions into the policies folder. This is a central policy store. Every one of you should have one. What happens here is all the ADM files are all the policies. So if we have here an Adobe 10, Adobe 11, Adobe DC, Google, Firefox, Microsoft Office 2007, 2010, 2003, 2016, 2013, what have you. Each one of those things is a group policy template file. That's what these are. All these ADMx's. So you see Access 15 is Microsoft Access 2013. Access 16 is Microsoft Access 2016, Acrobat 11, and so on and so on. These are all the files that make all that personality stuff happen, okay, to teach us how to do those things. So what happens is, it's kind of like Novell, that there's an ADMx file, and then there's a corresponding language file, ADML file. And to do this, you need both. So you need to set up a central policy store, and that's just make a folder under policies called policy definitions. And then you dump every single one of your ADMs and ADMx's and ADMLs into this. So here we're English US language. So if I'm going to Adobe to get Acrobat 11, I'm going to get Acrobat 11 ADMx, which is going to go in the Policy Definitions folder. And then I'm going to go into the ADML, and what there is there's an Acrobat 11 ADML, which is the language file. I need them both. And they do that because then you could be Czech and British English and Ugandan or whatever. So that's the way it works. So when I go out and get a new policy file, you know, Microsoft says, oh, the new Office 2017 is out. And so if we go down here, we're going to find, you know, here, Outlook 16, right, ADMx. That's 2016 Outlook, 2013 Outlook, 2010 Outlook, 2007 Outlook. All right, there they all are. And there's a file for each one of those things that gives it the personality. ADM files are the old files. All right, so ADM files are like what we used with XP and Windows 2000 and the like. You can still use ADM files. They still work fine. All right, and you would dump them in there. So you might find that Google. Where's Google? Oh, I don't know where Google is. You might find that, you know, you find an ADMx file, or an ADM file for an older thing. You can dump it in here just the same, and it'll work fine. The only difference is if we go in here and there is an ADM file, what's going to happen is you're going to go under Policies, you're going to go under Administrative, and there's going to be a Classic section. And the ADM files will appear under Classic. They won't. That's my bug. I got to fix that. They won't appear under in the list here. There'll just be a section. If you have ADM files, there'll be a section in here which will say Classic. And once you go to Classic, you'll get the old stuff. So that's kind of the trick. There is a way to convert ADM to ADMx so they'll line up nice in the list alphabetically. But if you don't have that, they'll just appear. There'll be a listing here that says Classic. So your to-do, if you don't have one of these, right, is to build yourself one of these. And then how do I build myself? Well, I basically go C:\Windows, and then I go down here, and you see there's a policy definition folder. And I literally would copy everything in this into the one on the server. And Windows 10 Anniversary Edition comes out. I would go onto my Windows 10 machine. I would go to this folder. I would dump it into this to get the most current ones in. Okay, that's how you get the new IE to get on the list to do the GPPE stuff. You know, that's how you do it. You go to Adobe, you get their files, you dump them in here. That's what we want to do. Now, what I see lots of times is somebody did this when they first set up, but then they haven't done it since. So I go back and I find files that are from 2010, right, and the like. So, you know, if you go out here, and again, what's the actual path? My domain name sysfile, my domain name policies, policy definitions, and you see old stuff that's not 2016, you know, then you probably haven't updated this in a while, and you need to do that. And it's literally that simple. So dump it in, and once you dump it in, then the stuff is going to appear, you know, you're going to see this stuff out here. But you won't see Adobe until you dump the Adobe thing in. So I'd like all of you, if you don't have one, you need one. And if you have, you know, once you dump it in, then you'll just see it. It'll be a choice up here. You know, here's Adobe Acrobat 11. All right. Until you dump it in, it won't appear. If it doesn't appear, you cannot manage it. That's the secret sauce. So, what haven't I covered? I think we're kind of at the end here of our time. Whoop, I'm sorry. So we've done group policy modeling, we've done resultant set, objects versus preferences, ADM versus ADMx. Oh, I didn't do group policy order of preference, which is simple. We did central policy store, we did IE maintenance versus GPPE. So now let's jump back on my server, let's do order of precedence. So here I am, let's get out of this. All right. All right. Here I am in the domain, in group policy modeling, and I have all my GPOs. Here's my link order, right? So this is the order in which this stuff is going to run. All right, and the same thing, if I go down here, let me find one that has more than one. All right, so here's 3 policies in here, right? 3 policies. What's the order of precedence? So the most important policy is view my documents redirect. The second most is folder favorites redirect. The third is drive mapping, right? And I can basically use my little handy-dandy arrows to change that. So, you know, you're into the last in wins scenario. So how do I control that? I just go to the level, I get to order of precedence, and then I adjust it. So if I want to say this happens first, this happens second, you know, example that might be all teachers get X, lead teachers get X plus Y. So what I do is I'd say lead teacher X plus Y, if you're in the group lead teacher, would be the last policy, the highest precedence. So every teacher would get X, and then the lead teacher would get X plus Y, as opposed to if I had it backwards, what would happen is the lead teacher would get stepped on and get X again. So that's how I might do it. But this is a very powerful way to say, you know, I have what I want, but I got stuff stepping on it. Or how do I distinguish between a teacher or a lead teacher in the same OU? That's how I do it. So that's we've kind of taken you to the end of our time today. Hopefully this was useful. You know, totally freeform versus my normal, you know, PowerPoint screenshots, but we covered actually quite a bit of material. Now, just to close out, we got some meetings scheduled for Tech Talk. Both Duchess, Policy, CSI, they have a schedule as well. We're going to do another webinar on the 13th. I don't think we picked a topic yet. If you have some suggestions, certainly when Lisa sends the evaluation, please put them down, but that'll be on the 13th of December. Here's the other ones. Now, we have some really, you know, new news, so to speak, which you may or may not have heard. Tomorrow, we are doing, we have some very important Cisco people here in the office, physically, not webinar, but live in the office. And we're doing a major Cisco security event presentation. There's 2 sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. In the morning, we'll feed you breakfast before and lunch after. In the afternoon, come a little early and we'll feed you lunch. You need to talk to Lisa about what's available and not available in terms of time, but this is Cisco's Brain Trust, and we originally did 1 session, but there's so many people who wanted to go, we got them to rearrange their afternoon and stay. So that is tomorrow, literally. So if you want to do that, jump on the phone with Lisa after this webinar and make your reservation and see what you can get. But this is the Brain Trust that's really talking about, you know, the next mile in terms of security. They'll be here in the morning, they'll be here in the afternoon. And a little more planning in terms of time. On December 7th, folks from Nimble Storage Solutions, which is a flash-based storage, which we're really high on, is coming to do a presentation here. And again, we'll feed you. If you come, you can talk to Lisa about that. That is my presentation today. I'm going to unmute the phone, and if anybody has a question. Anybody have anything they want to ask? Or the like. And if not, I thank you for coming. Lisa will send out the evaluation, and